Welcome back to part 3 of the Ultimate Smart Shed build series. In the last episode, I finished clearing the site. In this video, we're tackling the most critical step of the entire project, building a rock-solid concrete slab foundation. A proper foundation is the key to a long-lasting, durable and secure smart shed. So in this video, I'll walk you through every step of the process, including finalizing the site preparation, how to get it level so we get a nice professional finish, forming the slab, so building the frame so our concrete pour is level and perfectly square, and then using some rebar or wire mesh to reinforce it, and finally the concrete pour, including my tips and tricks for mixing, pouring, and finishing the concrete. Whether you're building a shed, a garage, man cave, or workshop, this guide will give you the knowledge you need for a successful concrete foundation. Don't forget to check out the full series playlist to see the project from start to finish. I'll put links in the video description. Let's get started.
Okay, so the tree stump has gone. I've filled that in and I've tempered that all down. That's where it used to be, and I've just started to prepare the site now for the slab. So it's about 12 feet that way, 6 feet that way. The ground's a bit unlevel, so I've leveled that off by digging out a few inches. I've also dug a trench here, which you can see goes from the inside corner of where the slab will be and off to the border. That's about 600 millimeters deep, and I'm going to put some conduit in that so that I can run some power cable and some Ethernet cable to the garage. So anyway, the next bit is to build the form for the concrete slab and then put some type 1 roadstone in there to give that a nice firm sub base. So let's start building now the form for the slab. Okay, so it's time to make the form up. I'm going to be making that out of shutter ply. So this is 18 millimeter thick, and they're standard 2440 mil by 1220 mil, or 8x4 in old money. So I've ripped this down into 244 millimeter strips, and then that gives me just enough to make my 12 foot by 6 foot form by screwing it all together. So 12 foot by 6 foot, that's about 3660 by 1830 or thereabouts. So I've got myself some screws here and a set square. Got myself my screwdriver, so I need to just get all this together. I've already pre-drilled some holes so I can screw everything together. I'm going to have to join a couple of bits together to get the 12 foot length, and then we can go and place it over the site and get it pegged in and leveled up. So let's get this screwed together. So just level up the two corners here. This is the 6 foot width plus a 8 foot length that I need. So just smooth that, make sure that that's level, and then just pop the screw, pop that in, level the bottom one up just to make sure it's nice and square, and then screw that one in. And then just do the others. And then we just need to repeat for all 4 corners. Okay, so that's all 4 corners screwed into each other. All I now need to do now is just join up these 2 planks here where they weren't long enough. So I've got one join on this side and one on that side, and then I've got these 2 offcuts which I can just bolt here on the outside and form up the side planks. So let's do that. Okay, so the side pieces are all screwed in. That's made it all nice and tight. So now I've got my complete 6x8 form made up, and I can transfer that over to the site where I'm putting the shed. I've also put in these cross braces on here, just a piece of 2B1 batten, and that's to make sure that I'm getting a perfectly square corner. So the way I do that is to use some old schoolboy Pythagoras, and I'm going 60 centimeters that way Now I'm going 80 centimetres that way, and then the cross brace, according to Pythagoras, has to be 10. Screw it all down, and so that locks that in at 90 degrees. And then I'll do another one for the far corner, and that means while I'm putting this in, staking it in on the ground before I pour it, it keeps everything nice and square. So I'll just do the other one, and then I'll lay this on the shed base, shed site, ready to start. Okay, so the form or shutter is just resting in place over the oversight where I want the shed to be. So all I've got to do now is level it up and then put some support stakes on and make sure everything is still true and square. So I'll do that and then come back to you and show you what I did. Okay, so the shuttering's all done. It's all level and staked out. I've done corner to corner and then that corner to corner, and they're within 2 millimeters of each other. So that's good. And then I've put pegs in the ground, a good 300 mil, 400 mil, and then screwed them into the formwork all the way along and all the way around. So it sticks out from the ground about 8 or 9 inches, just in case you're wondering why it's so high. Normally for a shed you'd want about a 5-inch slab. I've got a stream at the bottom of my garden, and if it rains really hard it can flood a few inches, so I just want a little bit of safety to get this slightly higher, so if the garden does flood I won't get flooding in the shed. I need to dig out this trench a bit more. It didn't quite go to the corner, so I need to dig that out. So now I'm going to lay the conduit in there. I'm going to put a geotex membrane down just to prevent the sub base from migrating into the soil over time, then fill this with some hardcore and some type 1. So let's get on and do that. Okay, so the conduit is now in. Don't know if you can see down the bottom there, and then it goes all the way and up to the top. I've run a string line, as you can see, all the way up to the garden where my cable trunking will come down, so I know where to bring that up. And then I've got some caution tape. So this hole is just over 600 mil deep. I'll now put 150 mil or 6 inches of dirt, then I'll lay this tape on, and then I'll fill it right up at the top. So future me or another owner will know if they dig down that there's some electrical cables a few inches below that tape line, and then I need to position this in the right place so it comes up and can be pinned to the inside wall. So next thing, start filling this with dirt. Okay, so I've put 6 inches of soil, 150 mil, and then I've compacted that down, and now I've put the electrical warning tape in. So all that remains is fill it up to the top and compact it down, and then I'll cap the ends of these off so no rubbish falls down them for the rest of the build. Okay, so the trunking's all buried, as you can see. Just got the trunking sticking up. I filled that all in and compacted it all down. I've just put these little neoprene glands on the end to stop any building rubbish going down the conduit during the build. The next process is to lay some geotex membrane, which I've got here. So I'm going to lay that across the bed here, and that really stabilizes the sub base, and it stops the sub base from migrating into the soil and the soil coming up over time. So I think it keeps the integrity mechanically of the base. So I'm just going to roll that out and lay that down, and I can start putting the hardcore on. Okay, so the geotex membrane is down. I've put a few layers on there and made sure that there's plenty of overlap. So that should keep the sub base nice and steady. So time now to put a bit of hardcore in, and then I've got a 900 kilos of type 1 roadstone to put down. So let's get on with that, and then get it prepped ready for the steel reinforcing mesh and then the concrete. Okay, so I've put a layer of hardcore in there, which was some old leftover patio slabs I had, a few bricks. I've broken all those down and given that a good layer and compacting down. I'll just give that a quick blinding with a little bit of ballast, and then I'll go over that with type 1 roadstone. Oh, there's my spirit level, as you can see, spot on. So the form's still good. So next stage, a little bit of blinding, and then start with the roadstone. Okay, so all the roadstone is down, type 1 MOT. There's about 900 kilos or so there, so I think it's something like about 3 inches, 75 mil thick, and then underneath obviously you've got the rubble and you've also got the geotextile membrane. So the next job to do is just go around the inside of the form, and I'll wipe that down with some vegetable oil just to make sure that the cement doesn't stick and pull anything off when I break off the form. Just realised the battery died on the camera, so what you didn't see was this being all compacted down with a mechanical impactor. So this base now is absolutely solid and compressed, so there'll be no movement once the concrete's been poured. Okay, so the next step is just to put some oil on these wooden forms to stop the concrete sticking to it and pulling chunks off when we break the forms when the concrete's dry. So I've just got some cheap sunflower oil, cooking oil. You could use engine oil, anything will form a release agent. So all we need to do is just go round and just rub on a bit of cooking oil all over the boards before we get started. So I'll go ahead and do that off camera, and we'll get going. Okay, so the forms are all oiled up, and I've also put in this 5mm reinforcing mesh as well, and I've just used some concrete blocks to raise this up so it's about halfway in the thickness of the concrete slab to make sure I get maximum reinforcement from the steel. So next job, start knocking up the concrete and pouring it in. So I'm mixing up a mix of 5 parts ballast with 20mm and 1 part cement for my concrete mix. I'll be doing that with this cement mixer. Okay, so the concrete's all in and reasonably level. You can see there it's completely in. So the next thing to do is to tamper it down and ensure all the bubbles are out and just get that final level. So let's go ahead and get a straight level. I'm going to use a 4x2. Ideally you'd need 2 people for this, but I haven't, so I'm just going to screw an end stop onto one end of the beam, so as I do the tampering it's not going to fall into the concrete. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so with a straight level, you just want to tamper this up and down, and that's going to do 2 things. As you move along, it will level the surface of the concrete, but also it's going to knock any air bubbles out and make the water rise to the surface, meaning you'll get a nice strong concrete slab when you finish. So just do this and then work your way all the way along. As you can see, if it's too high, it will move the excess concrete along to the end, fill any holes, or just go off the end when you're done. So that's all you need to do to tamper your finished slab. So I'll go ahead and do the rest of that and show you when it's all finished. Okay, that's all been tempered down, so all nice and level. Just got to let it dry a bit now, and then I'll probably go around the edge with a bullnose trowel just to give a nice smooth edge where the timber frame's going to go, and also to have a little curved edge to stop anything chipping the edge of the slab. Let me just show you how we're going to do that. Okay, so the edging trowel, you can see there on the edge there's a corner, a curve. That's a 1/2 inch radius bullnose, and it's about 4 3/4 inches wide. So this will give a nice smooth edge and stop the edges from chipping. So all you do, you have to wait till the cement's starting to go solid, but obviously not cured. Push that down into the gap. Keep this end slightly raised so you don't pull up your finish, and then just drag that along like this, and then just keep doing that And if this cement is a little bit dry, soak it with a little bit of water. So I'll just keep doing that, and I'll show you the finished result in a minute. Here's what it's looked like. Keep repeating over it's nice fluffies for your framing to go on, and then the edge has got this nice bullnose curve, which means they won't get chipped or anything. So all you need to do is just keep going up and down, but you do need to wait for the concrete to start to turn. You can't do it when it's too wet. If it goes too hard, you can wet it back down again and just sprinkle a fine mist of water on it, and just do that all the way around. Okay, so that's all finished. The only other thing you can do, although you don't need to, it's only a shed after all, you could use a stiff broom like this. These are stiff nylon bristles, and then just as the surface is starting to turn, you can then pull this along and you get like a swept effect. So I've just started doing it here. I don't know if you can see because of the sun. You just get these very light ridges here. So I'm probably going to do that to the rest of the slab. The first half is starting to dry already. This one's taking a bit longer because it's slightly in the shade. But that's it, slab done. I'll wait a few days for everything to cure, and then I'll take the wooden form off, and then we're ready to start building. Okay, so the shuttering's all been removed. And that's the finished slab. Came out really well on the sides, no breakouts. Top super level, so I'm pleased with that. You can see the bullnose edge, and I've got a nice smooth finish now to put my framing on. There's my bit of conduit, so I can bring some cables in. That comes from over there, and I can slide in power and Ethernet. So yeah, overall really good, nice and clean finished. Next job, start framing.
All right, the foundation is poured, levelled and cured. That's a huge milestone. This is where our ultimate shed truly begins to take shape. Next time, we're grabbing the timber and building the robust framing for our shed. You won't want to miss it. If you're enjoying the series, please make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions on the foundations. And also a huge thank you to everyone who's been following the series. It really means a lot. See you all in the next one.